Hey friend, before we dive in, just 1 second for you, but a huge deal for me. Please hit that subscribe button. And while you're here, drop a comment with your city or state. I love seeing where everyone's watching from. Now, let's get into it. The moment I saw the nameplate, my stomach knotted so hard I thought I might throw up. It wasn't just a flimsy slip of paper, it was thick cardstock, ivory, with gold edging. The kind of thing you'd expect at a politician's fundraiser, not a wedding reception. My name was written in elegant calligraphy, but underneath it, in a different pen, in all caps, someone had scribbled, "Fake Dad." I just sat there, staring at it. For a second, I thought maybe it wasn't real. Maybe the champagne buzz in the room, the chatter, the string quartet warming up, maybe it was messing with me. But it was there. Permanent ink. Bold. Ugly. And it hit harder than I ever thought ink on paper could. See, for 23 years, it had been just me and my daughter, Harper. Her mom left when Harper was barely 6 months old. She didn't leave for a job or because she was chasing some dream. She just disappeared. One day, she said she needed space, and the next morning she was gone. So it was me. Diapers, formula, midnight fevers. Me, working 2 jobs, auto shop during the day, janitorial nights at the community college. Me, patching her Halloween costumes with duct tape when money was tight, teaching her how to drive stick shift in a rusty Ford truck, showing up at every parent-teacher conference even if I smelled like oil and bleach at the same time. I wasn't fake. I was there. Always. And now, on the most important day of her life, the day I'd been both dreading and praying for, someone had reduced me to a fraud. The reception hall was polished perfection, crystal chandeliers, white roses, and servers floating around with trays of shrimp cocktail. A place I never belonged in. A place where guys like me, boots scuffed, calloused hands, shirt sleeves a little too tight in the wrong spots, always stick out. I could feel eyes on me. Across the table, a woman in pearls leaned in close to her husband and whispered something. They both smirked. A young guy in a tailored suit glanced at my shoes, then at the nameplate, then shook his head like he'd just gotten his entertainment for the night. Someone chuckled behind me. Guess even the real dad didn't make the cut, a voice muttered. They didn't know I could hear. I gripped the edge of the table so hard my knuckles turned white. My throat burned, but I didn't say a word. I just pushed back my chair, slow and steady. No scene. No shouting match. I wasn't going to give them that. I stood, turned toward the exit, ready to leave, ready to disappear before Harper ever saw me break. But then, the music stopped. The mic crackled, and the room went dead quiet. I turned. Harper was standing in the middle of the dance floor, her heels in one hand, holding the microphone in the other. Her brand new husband, Ethan, was at her side, grinning like a politician at a press conference. He put his hand on her back like he owned her. But Harper's eyes weren't soft. They were sharp, focused. "I'm done," she said into the mic. Her voice didn't shake. "We're leaving." At first, people laughed, like it was some bridal joke. But Harper's jaw was locked, and she didn't even glance at Ethan. She dropped his hand. Hard. "Harper, what the hell are you doing?" Ethan hissed, but she ignored him. She stepped off the dance floor, walked straight across the room, and stopped in front of me. "Dad," she said, her voice low but clear. "Let's go." I froze. "Harper, I'll explain in the car." She slipped her arm through mine, like she used to when she was a little girl crossing a busy street. And before I could protest, she was leading me out of the reception hall, past the whispering bridesmaids, the stunned relatives, the shocked groomsmen. No one stopped us. We didn't say a word for the first 30 minutes of the drive. Just the sound of her dress rustling, the hum of the highway, and the faint echo of wedding music still looping from her phone speaker. I finally reached over and turned it off. She kept driving. Straight shot toward my house. My place isn't much. 1 story, chipped paint, chain link fence with a busted gate. But the mortgage is paid, and I kept the lights on even when Harper went off to college. It's home. When she parked at the curb, She didn't get out right away. She sat there, hands still gripping the wheel like she was waiting for something to hit her. Finally, she let out a long breath. "I saw the nameplate before you did," she said. My chest tightened. "What?" At the rehearsal dinner. It was already on the table. I turned to face her. "And you still let today happen?" She stared straight ahead. I had to be sure. I needed to see if they'd actually go through with it. And her hands tightened on the steering wheel. They did. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. "Watch this," she said. No hesitation. She opened a video file. The screen lit up with shaky footage. Ethan's parents at the bar during rehearsal. Ethan himself was there too, grinning, a glass in hand. His dad's voice was clear. I mean, the guy's not even her real father. Just some stand-in. A fake. He raised her, sure, but come on, blood is blood. Laughter. Then Ethan chimed in. "Wait until she finds out I could have had her real dad there instead of the fake one. The janitor. The video cut." But my heart didn't. I leaned back, staring at the dark windshield. My throat felt raw. "They knew," I whispered. "The whole damn family knew." And they smiled in my face. Harper turned toward me, her voice steady, her eyes cold. "I told them who raised me. I told them who showed up. They didn't care." I swallowed hard. "Why didn't you tell me this before today?" I could have. Because she cut me off. This wasn't about sparing your feelings. This was about proof. I needed to see who they really were. She leaned back in her seat, exhaled, and then said, "And Dad, you haven't seen the half of it yet. If part 1 hit you hard, trust me, you'll want to stay glued for this one. And before we dive in real quick, tap that like button if you've ever had someone underestimate you. Helps the story get to more people, and honestly, I love reading those comments." Okay, let's get back to it. The video she'd just shown me was bad enough. Ethan laughing at me, his parents mocking me like I was some disposable stand-in. I thought that was the bombshell. I thought that was it. But Harper had another clip queued up. She hit play before I could even catch my breath. This time, the camera angle was different, hidden, like maybe she'd propped her phone up somewhere. I could see Ethan's mom, dressed in her pearls, sitting in the bridal suite with a glass of white wine. Harper wasn't in the frame, but I could hear her voice, calm, even. "So you're really planning to write his name on the place card?" Fake Dad. Ethan's mom laughed. "Of course. What are we supposed to pretend? You should be grateful we even let him sit at the front. It's embarrassing enough he's here at all." My chest tightened. Then another voice, Ethan's, piped up. "We're doing you a favor, Harper. You need to stop clinging to him. My family is your family now. Real family." The video ended there. Harper set the phone on the console, faced me, and waited. I couldn't even speak. My hands felt like they were burning, my head pounding. They said that?" She nodded. I looked at her. My daughter, my little girl who used to fall asleep in the back seat while I drove her home from soccer practice, who used to grip my hand so tight crossing parking lots, who used to whisper that I was her hero. And now she was grown, sitting in my passenger seat in a white gown, showing me the evidence that the people she almost tied her life to saw me as a joke. "Why didn't you walk away before today?" I asked, my voice low. She held my gaze. "Because I needed them to show their true colors." And they did, at the worst possible time. Which means no one can ever say I imagined it. No one can say I overreacted. It's all there, on camera. I shook my head, still trying to process. "But Harper, if you knew, why go through with the ceremony? Why let me sit there and..." Because she cut me off. If I had backed out quietly, they would have spun it. Said I was unstable. Said I panicked. But now, they humiliated themselves. They humiliated you. In front of everyone. She leaned closer, her eyes hard as steel. And that's leverage. For a second, I didn't recognize her. This wasn't the little girl I'd raised. This was someone colder, sharper. Someone who had inherited the fight I thought I'd shielded her from. "What are you planning?" I asked carefully. She smiled, not with joy, but with something else. Something calculated. "You'll see." The next morning, My house felt too small for the weight in the air. Harper sat at my kitchen table, her hair tied back, no makeup, hoodie pulled tight. She had 3 folders spread out in front of her. I poured us coffee, set one mug in front of her. She didn't look up. "You've been busy," I said. She nodded. "I've been digging for months. Ethan's family, they're not just mean. They're dirty. Illegal dirty." I froze. "What?" She slid one of the folders across the table. Inside were printouts, bank transfers, property records, tax documents. Stuff I didn't fully understand, but the numbers spoke loud enough. "They've been funneling money through shell accounts," she said. "Charity funds that never reach the charities. Payoffs disguised as consulting fees." And Ethan knew. He was supposed to be the clean face. The next generation to keep it all looking legitimate. I stared at the papers. "How do you even have all this?" She met my eyes. "Dad, I'm not as naive as they thought. I've been watching, collecting, waiting." The air felt heavier. I set my mug down. "Harper, what are you going to do with this?" Her answer was immediate. "Burn them down." For the first time, I saw something in her I hadn't expected, an anger that matched mine. Not the hot, reckless anger I used to feel when her mom left us, but a colder, steadier fire. Controlled. Dangerous. "Harper," I said slowly, "revenge feels good in the moment, but this isn't revenge," she snapped. Then softened. "It's protection. They think they can erase you, treat you like you don't exist. But Dad, we're going to erase them instead." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling fan spin in slow circles. My chest ached with something I couldn't name. Pride? Fear? Both? I'd raised Harper to be strong, but this was war. And part of me wanted to tell her to let it go, to walk away, to start fresh somewhere else. But another part of me deep down knew she was right. They had tried to take the one thing I couldn't stand to lose, my place as her father. I sat up, rubbed my face, and whispered to the dark. "All right, if we're doing this, we're doing it together." The next morning, Harper was already awake, already dressed, already scribbling notes. She looked up as I walked into the kitchen. "You're in?" she asked. I nodded. "All the way." She smiled finally, a real smile. And for just a moment, she looked like my little girl again. But only for a moment. Because then she slid another folder across the table and said, "Then here's what comes next. You're still here? Good. Because this is the part where everything changes. If you thought the nameplate stunt was the worst of it, wait until you see how my daughter flipped the whole game on its head." The folder Harper slid across the table felt heavier than paper should. I opened it carefully. Inside were names, dates, dollar amounts, all connected with arrows and highlights. "This," she said, tapping one page, "is Ethan's father's trust. Supposedly tax-exempt. Except most of the donations went right back into their own pockets." She flipped to another page. "And here's Ethan's uncle. He's on 3 boards, all nonprofits. Guess how much of their annual budget actually makes it to programs?" I shook my head. "Less than 15%. Her eyes met mine, sharp and unblinking. They built their entire image on giving back. But they're thieves. Every receipt, every fake contract, I've got copies. Enough to ruin them." I leaned back, running a hand over my face. "Harper, this is massive. If you take this public..." She cut me off. "I'm not taking it public. Not yet." Her voice was calm, calculated. "I'm going to give them the chance to bury themselves. On camera. In their own words." That afternoon, we drove back into town. My stomach was tight the whole ride. We weren't going to the police. Not to a lawyer. We were going to Ethan's family estate. Their house looked like something off a magazine cover, stone walls, iron gates, manicured lawns that probably had their own gardener on salary. Harper parked the car, straightened her shoulders, and glanced at me. "You don't have to come in," she said quietly. I shook my head. "If they see you, they see me too. I'm not staying in the car." Her eyes softened just a fraction. Then she nodded, and we walked up together. The living room was crowded. Ethan, his parents, his uncle, Even two men in suits I didn't recognize. The second we walked in, every pair of eyes locked on us. "What are you doing here?" Ethan's mother hissed. Harper didn't flinch. "I'm here to return something you dropped." She set her phone on the table. One tap, and the screen lit up with that same recording her, Ethan, and his mother laughing about fake dad. The room went still. Ethan's father's face drained of color. Ethan himself looked like he wanted to crawl under the rug. "This is blackmail," his uncle snapped. "No," Harper said, her tone ice. "This is evidence. Blackmail would mean I wanted something. I don't. I just want you all to hear how disgusting you sound. And then I want you to know I've got a lot more than this." She pulled a second folder from her bag, dropped it onto the coffee table. Pages slid out, bank transfers, property deeds, fake contracts. "You've been stealing. From charities. From people who actually needed that money. And guess what? I've been documenting it for 6 months." The men in suits shifted uncomfortably. Ethan's mom looked like she might faint. Ethan tried to reach for Harper's arm, but she jerked back. "You tried to erase my dad," she said, her voice rising. "But I don't need to erase you. You did that yourselves. All I had to do was press record." The room exploded. Ethan's father cursed under his breath. His uncle shouted about misunderstandings. The men in suits tried to calm everyone down. And in the middle of it all, Harper stood perfectly still, unmoved, like she'd already won. I watched her, my chest tight with something I couldn't even name. Pride, fear, awe, maybe all of it. When the shouting finally died down, Harper picked up her phone. "You've got 48 hours, she said evenly. "Either you shut down every shell company, step down from every board, and return every stolen dollar, or this goes public. Every news outlet, every regulator, every donor, everywhere." Ethan's father's face was red, trembling with rage. "You'll destroy us." Harper didn't blink. "No, you destroyed yourselves. I'm just not letting you hide it anymore." We walked out without another word. The air outside felt sharper, cleaner. In the car, I finally breathed again. "Harper, what if they come after you? What if they—" She cut me off, but softer this time. "They won't. They can't risk drawing attention. They're trapped, Dad. And I'm not scared of them anymore." For the first time in years, I realized I wasn't either. That night, back home, Harper sat cross-legged on the floor, laptop glowing in front of her. I sat in my recliner, watching her. "What if they don't fold?" I asked. She didn't look up. "Then we go nuclear." "What does that mean?" Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "It means every document, every video, every file goes online. All at once. Irreversible." She looked up finally, her eyes burning. "Dad, they called you fake. But you're the only real thing I've ever had. I'm not letting them write that out of our story." My throat tightened. I had no words, so I just nodded. The next morning, I found a note taped to the fridge, in Harper's handwriting. "Going to the courthouse. Meet me there." My heart thudded. Courthouse? I threw on a jacket, grabbed my keys, and drove faster than I should have. When I arrived, Harper was already inside, at the clerk's desk, signing papers. She looked up when she saw me. "What's going on?" I asked, breathless. She smiled faintly. "I'm changing my name." I blinked. "What?" "To yours," she said. "No hyphens. No half measures. Full legal change. You've been my dad my whole life. Time to make sure nobody ever forgets it." I just stood there stunned. My little girl, grown now, taking my name like it was a shield. Ethan's family had tried to erase me. Instead, Harper had carved me into her identity forever. If you thought Ethan's family would take Harper's threat lying down, you don't know people like them. They don't back down. They double down. 2 days after the courthouse, the storm hit. First, it was a letter slipped under our front door, legalese so thick it might as well have been in another language. The short version? They were suing Harper. Defamation. Breach of privacy. Emotional damages. She read it once, then tossed it on the counter. They're bluffing. I wasn't so sure. What if it sticks? What if a judge? "Dad," she interrupted, "they can't afford a trial. Not with everything I've got on them. This is just noise." But the noise grew louder. By the end of the week, we started seeing their side of the story leaking online. Heartbroken family betrayed by unstable young woman. Estranged father manipulates daughter into smear campaign. Glossy headlines, polished press releases. They had money, power, connections. We had, well, just us. And yet, when I looked at Harper, I saw no fear. Only focus. The next weekend, she called me into the living room. On the TV, a video was playing Ethan, his parents, his uncle, sitting stiff in a studio, pretending to look sympathetic. Ethan spoke first. "This has been an incredibly painful time for our family. Certain individuals are spreading lies about us, lies we will prove false in court." His mother added, "We've always acted with integrity. Any suggestion otherwise is malicious and unfounded." I clenched my fists. The hypocrisy was unbearable. Harper just grabbed the remote, hit pause, and turned to me. "They just walked into the trap." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "They denied everything on camera. Public record. Which means when I release the files, it's not just corruption, it's perjury." I clenched my fists. The hypocrisy was unbearable. Harper just grabbed the remote, hit pause, and turned to me. "They just walked into the trap." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "They denied everything on camera. Public record. Which means when I release the files, it's not just corruption, it's perjury." Her eyes gleamed. "They're finished." That night, Harper launched a website. Clean, professional, nothing flashy. Just a name, the Truth Ledger. Page by page, document by document, she uploaded everything. The fake contracts, the donation receipts, the offshore transfers, even the audio clips where they mocked the very communities they claimed to serve. It spread fast, faster than I could have imagined. By morning, it was trending on Twitter. By afternoon, local news stations were running specials. By evening, the state attorney general's office had announced an inquiry. And Ethan's family? Silent. I thought maybe, just maybe, it was over. But then Ethan showed up. I was fixing the fence out back when I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. I turned, and there he was, walking toward me in a pressed shirt and polished shoes like nothing had happened. "Mr. Lawson," he started, voice calm, almost too calm. "We need to talk." I dropped the hammer, crossed my arms. "No, we don't." "Please," he said, lowering his tone. "Just 5 minutes." I should have told him to get lost. But something in his eyes, desperation, maybe made me pause. I nodded once, and we sat at the old picnic table. "I didn't know," Ethan said quickly. "About most of it. My parents, my uncle, they kept me in the dark." I raised an eyebrow. "You knew enough to call me fake. You knew enough to laugh while they humiliated me." His jaw tightened. "That was stupid. I regret it. But Harper, she's going to burn everything down, including me. I can't let that happen." I leaned forward. "So what? You want me to convince her to stop?" He swallowed hard. "Yes. Tell her to back off. We can fix this. Quietly." I almost laughed. The arrogance of it. He still thought he had leverage. "You don't get it," I said, my voice low. "This isn't about you. It's not even about me anymore. Harper's not backing down. Not now. Not ever." For the first time, Ethan looked genuinely afraid. When Harper came home and saw him, her face went cold. "You've got nerve," she said flatly. He stood, tried to approach her, but she held up a hand. "Stop. Whatever you're about to say, save it. You had years to choose who you stood with. You chose them. And now you pay the price. Harper, please." "No," her voice cracked, but only for a second. Then it hardened. "You don't get to call me by my name anymore. Not after what you did." Ethan's shoulders slumped. For the first time, he looked small, defeated. He turned and walked away without another word. When his car pulled off, Harper exhaled, shoulders trembling. She didn't cry, though. She just muttered, almost to herself, "Done. I'm done." Over the next month, the fallout was total. Ethan's father resigned from every board. His uncle faced charges. Their foundation collapsed. Their family name, once plastered on hospitals and schools, became a punchline. Meanwhile, Harper's site had blown up. Journalists called her brave. Activists called her a whistleblower. Students messaged her, saying she inspired them. Me? I just watched. Tried to keep up. Tried to process how my little girl had gone from bride humiliated at her own wedding to a force that toppled an empire. One night, sitting on the porch, she finally let the armor slip. "Dad," she whispered, staring out at the dark yard. "What if I became like them? What if all this power gets to my head?" I shook my head. "No, you're nothing like them." "How do you know?" "Because they erased people. You lift them up. They lied to cover shame. You tell truth to set it free. And because my voice caught. Because you're mine." She leaned against my shoulder then, just for a moment. And for the first time since the wedding, she looked like my kid again. But if you think that's the end, you're wrong. Because Harper wasn't satisfied with just tearing corruption down. She wanted to build something new. Something lasting. And that's where the story takes its final turn. The headlines faded. The lawsuits fizzled. And life somehow went on. But it wasn't the same life. Not for Harper. Not for me. A year after the wedding that went wrong, I found myself in a place I never thought I'd belong. A ballroom in downtown San Francisco. The chandeliers glowed. The crowd buzzed. It wasn't a wedding this time, it was a gala. The launch of the Lawson Initiative. Harper had turned all that chaos into a nonprofit dedicated to protecting whistleblowers and exposing corporate abuse. She called it a shield for the next generation. She asked me to stand beside her at the podium. My throat nearly closed when she introduced me. "This is my father, Daniel Lawson. The man who taught me that truth doesn't need polish to shine." The applause was real. Not polite. Not forced. Real. I'd never heard my name said like that before. After the speeches, kids no older than Harper once was came up to us. One girl, in a denim jacket with patches all over it, said, "I've never seen someone like me on a stage like this before. Makes me think I could do it too." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. That seemed to be enough. Another kid held up his cracked phone, asked if I'd take a selfie with him. I chuckled, leaned in, and said, "Sure, why not?" Something about it felt right. A local news station ran a piece that night. "Mechanic Dad turns advocate." They spelled my name wrong in the cheer-in, but I didn't care. I watched the clip on a folding chair outside while Harper gave an interview. She looked calm, collected, herself. When the crowd thinned and the volunteers packed up, it was just the two of us under the streetlights. Harper handed me a small white envelope without a word. Inside was a deed, a house, both our names on it. "What's this?" I asked. "Home," she said simply. "For both of us. Not repayment. Just an upgrade." My throat tightened. I couldn't speak. I just held the key in my hand like it weighed 100 pounds. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like fake dad. I felt like what I'd always been. A real one. 1 year later, I sat in the front row of a university auditorium. Harper stood at the podium in a navy blazer, speaking to a sea of students. Her talk was called Strategic Patience, Winning by Waiting. She spoke about leverage, timing, narrative, things I never had names for, but had always known instinctively. During the Q&A, someone asked who influenced her most. She didn't hesitate. "My father," she said. "He never studied business, but he taught me cost, value, and return better than any textbook ever could." Her eyes found me in the crowd. A small nod. The room clapped. Some of the students even turned to see me, sitting there in my worn jacket, trying not to show how much it meant. I didn't wave, didn't smile, just nodded, hands folded, steady as stone. Afterward, as the faculty swarmed Harper with handshakes and business cards, I slipped out the side doors. Old habits die hard. The valet outside handed keys to kids with startup dreams and dusty cars. One of them looked at me, didn't recognize me, and said, "Nice ride, sir," as he pointed to the black sedan idling at the curb. Funny thing? A year ago, That same kid had laughed at my rusted-out truck at Harper's wedding. This time, I just smiled faintly, slipped him a 5, and kept walking. I climbed into the car. Harper was already inside, scrolling through her phone. "You crushed it," I said. "I know," she replied, smirking. "But thanks." We pulled away from campus, city lights passing by. Neither of us spoke for a while. Just quiet, comfortable. Finally, I said, "You didn't have to do all this." She didn't look up when she answered. "You're right. I didn't. I wanted to." We hit a red light. Outside the window, I saw a billboard above an old gas station. Big letters. Simple design. Integrity is inherited. The Lawson Initiative. No glossy photos. No spin. Just words. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and for the first time since that wedding, I felt it, not revenge. Resolution. So let me ask you, if you were in Harper's shoes, would you have forgiven Ethan? Or would you have done exactly what she did? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this story kept you hooked, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. YouTube picked this next video just for you. Let's see if they guessed right.